Okay, the title of this is a get home bag, right? Or I put that on there anyway. We're going to talk about some different things, and like I said, you'll probably have questions. If you do, I'm glad to answer them as far as I can answer them, but what I wanted to do is look at some biblical principles for it first before we get started. So if everyone have their Bibles? Let's look at, actually let's talk about Luke chapter 10 for a minute. Anybody know what Luke chapter 10 has in it? Talking about the Samaritan. Okay, so we have some principles there. What happened with the man that was coming back from Jerusalem? Yeah, robbed. And he got beat up. He was torn up. You know, could he move? And then what happened? Pharisee came by.
Wouldn't touch him.
Wouldn't touch him. Wouldn't even hardly look at him. The Levite came by. He looked at him, but he wouldn't touch him. So then the Samaritan came by. And he had his animal with him. And he had some supplies. And he was able to dress him with oil, wine, had bandages. You know, he had all those things with him. You know, he was ready for whatever he faced, and he was in danger. That trip between Jerusalem and Jericho was very dangerous, obviously. You know, so he was, but still, he was willing to stop what he was doing and give his full attention to this man. Of course, the Samaritan in the story was who? It's actually pointing to Christ, you know, during that time. So it's so we have some principles there. Let's turn to Ezekiel 38:7. In Ezekiel 38:7 it says, "Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." So prepare thyself. We need to think about that a little bit. Let's look at 1 Timothy 5:8. I'm going to go through these rather quickly. 1 Timothy 5:8. "But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." And so if we don't make preparations, if we don't provide for our families, what's God call us? It's an infidel. Luke 12:47.
What was that?
Luke 12 and verse 47. And said, "And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes." So if we don't prepare ourselves, what's going to happen? We'll be beaten with stripes. Terrible thing. Proverbs 24. Like I said, I'm going through these quickly so we can get to the program. Proverbs 24 verse 10, he said, "If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. If thou forbear to deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain, if thou sayest, Behold, we knew it not, that not he that pondereth the heart consider it. And he that keepeth thy soul doth not he know it, and shall not he render to every man according to his works. What's it say if we don't take care of those that are in need? We're going to pay a price for it. I wanted to read a couple of statements out of one out of Ministry of Healing. And that's on page 500. It says, man can shape circumstances, but circumstances should not be allowed to shape the man.
Right.
We should seize upon circumstances as instruments by which to work.
What is the reference?
That's in page 500, Ministry of Healing. We are to master them, but should not permit them to master us. Another reference in Education, page 18. It says, instead of educated weaklings, institutions of learning may send forth men strong to think and to act, men who are masters and not slaves of circumstances. So that's my point in doing this, is that we're always going to face circumstances, sometimes troubling circumstances, but we're to be masters of them and not be mastered by them, correct? So we're going to talk about the go bag, the get home bag. You know, we need to ask some questions really quick, and feel free to respond if you want. What I wanted to ask first, how many of you live in the country? Everyone. All right, that's good. How far are you from the nearest city?
12 miles.
Define city.
Big town, big city. Let's put it that way.
Like Louisville?
Well, Louisville would be one. Like for me, biggest city near me, I'd say is Knoxville. Let's look at that size. Okay. Knoxville, several 100,000. Yeah, so it's a pretty big city. Nashville, much bigger. Memphis, much bigger. So, big cities. So, how many of you go shopping in the city? Every once in a while? I mean, everybody ought to raise their hand. You're telling me you just stay at home all the time? You're self-sufficient? You don't have to go anywhere?
What you're talking about, the big city?
To go to the big city, I don't go shopping there once a year.
All right, small town. How far is the nearest small town?
10 miles.
10 miles? Okay. When's the last time you walked 10 miles? No, really? Can you even walk 10 miles? I mean, you got to ask yourself this question, because what happens? What happens if there's a natural disaster?
Right.
What happens if society breaks down? What happens? EMP. You know, everyone's talking about that. What happens? You know, Brother Brad, you were down in Mississippi. What happens if you can't get home?
What a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long way. I mean, could you walk it? All right, for 10 miles, how many days would it take you to walk 10 miles?
You should be able to walk
Same day.
15 or 20.
You should be able to. You should be able to. But do you have a way to procure water when you're walking that 10 miles? Or you got to drink some dirty water when you get thirsty and get sick and die? You got to ask yourself these questions. They're pertinent questions.
Yes, they are.
You know, are you going to face somebody that wants to take your stuff, rob you, depending on where you're at? You know, you're going to find somebody that is antagonistic towards you. You want to ask those questions. Here's another question when we talk about go bags or get home bags. You know, are you trying to get home, or are you fleeing forever? You know, there's two different schools of thought. If you're fleeing forever, most of us would want to take everything in the kitchen sink because we're not prepared. You know, when we talk about this camp meeting and the things that they've been showing you, such as working with trees, tying knots, starting fires, things like that. Many of us think, oh, why do I need to know that? I've got a house at home, it's all electric, I can do whatever I want to, you know, I've got lights. But what if? What if? Now for most of us, how many of you, Brother Brad's talking about gardens in here this morning, how many of you grow a garden? Putting up your food, saving seeds, replanting every year. Home is a pretty nice place, huh? So right at this point, unless home is gone, that's going to be my first thought, is to try to get back home. Because that's where all my, what do I want to call it? My necessities are, my food, my water, everything that I've worked for, I'm going to try to get back home. So what I want to do is focus a little bit right now on things we need to get back home. Now, what I told you earlier is that my nearest big city that I would go to, like for a Costco, if I want to get bulk food or something like that, well, that's about 80 or 90 miles from my house. Okay, so how long is it going to take me to walk 80 or 90 miles? Well, you don't know me, you don't know what kind of shape I'm in, but it's pretty easy to say that's going to take 6, 7, maybe 8 days, depending on if that's just free walking, no antagonist out there, no bad weather. Yeah, water. You know, all those things. I mean, yeah, we all, when we take off to town, we take off with what? Quart of water? How many days can you make it without water? 3. And you're going to start to get dehydrated within the day. So really 3 is death. So you're going to need water before that day's up if you can. You know, so we need to consider those things as we start looking at it. Again, what kind of situations are you going to face? You know, when we go, you know, has society broken down? Or, you know, has there been a tornado? Has there been hurricane? Has there been all kinds of natural disasters? Has there been a volcano erupting? You know, I mean, it's really odd to watch how people react when you're looking at all this is going on in Hawaii right now. Volcanoes are erupting in the background, and there's guys playing golf on a golf course. How foolish does that seem to us in here? You know, it doesn't make any sense. So there are a lot of obstacles that you might face. You know, like when society breaks down, what happens to animals when society breaks down? Yeah, they start getting hungry because nobody's feeding them. Anybody ever come up against a pack of dogs? We need to consider all those different things in our thinking and how you would deal with them. Okay, we're all health reformers in here, right?
Of course.
Okay, what kind of shape are you in? Can you walk 5 miles? Most everybody probably could walk 5 miles. It might hurt their feet at the end of it, but they could walk 5 miles. Okay, can you walk 10 miles? Could you walk 5 miles with this? That's 40 pounds. It's 20 pounds. You know, all of a sudden, when you've got things that you think are gonna make you more comfortable, they start getting heavy, there's a cost. You know, so you wanna be in the, I can't emphasize this enough, you wanna be in the best shape you can be in. You know, we should have some kind of an exercise program. You know, we're all gardening during the summer, but what are you doing during the winter? Maybe chopping wood, you know, maybe doing stuff like that, but it's not cardio shape a lot of times the way we do things. You know, so we want to be able to go. Now, I'm 55 years old right now, and I can't do what I did when I was 20.
Nope.
But if I take care of myself, I can come close. You know, I can't carry a 70-pound pack anymore. You used to be able to do that in the mountains. Now 40 pounds seems like an overwhelming obstacle at this point. But all these things need to be considered, or, as like they say, learn how to do things, and then you take less stuff. You know, that makes a difference. You know, training is very important. Okay, what kind of clothing do you wear daily? You should ask yourself this question. Do you have a pair of shoes on right now where you can walk 10 miles a day? I mean, really? I mean, if your shoes hurt your feet walking a couple hundred yards, you're never going to make 10 miles. Or if they cause blisters, there's a lot of feet. If you're not practicing walking that 4 or 5 miles, you don't even know if your shoes cause blisters on your feet. What kind of socks do you wear? You wear cotton socks? Cotton socks are a guaranteed blister. I've done it, I can tell you for sure. Suffered with it. You know, wool socks are better. Sometimes 2 pairs of socks are better. I even had a doctor tell me one time that put a pair of like nylon footies on and then put another pair of socks on over the top of it. This military doctor, he said that's what kept a lot of the armed forces guys from getting blisters on their hikes. So, I mean, just things like that, we need to figure them out. Well, you wear bright clothes? What's the old saying about cotton?
Cotton kills.
Cotton kills. You know, if you get, anybody know the temperature where somebody could die of hypothermia?
50 degrees.
You could die at 60 degrees of hypothermia if you're wet and it's starting to evaporate. You know, so how long would you last? You know, so there's certain things that you want to put into your everyday pack, and what I'm talking about is something that you carry with you all the time. We also want to talk about the color of clothing. You know, if you're wanting to be found, bright clothing is nice. But if you're wanting to draw attention to yourself, if society is broken down in some way,
It's not.
you want to blend in a little bit. You know, so you don't want to, I shouldn't be able to see you at a couple hundred yards away. You know, you should blend in with foliage, you know, with a lot of your clothes. And I'm not talking about necessarily having to pull out your camo and go full camo in this whole deal, but I am talking about earth tones. You know, browns, greens, things like that. It just kind of breaks things up a little bit. Men out there, how many of you wear hats? Hopefully everyone wears a hat. You know, hot conditions, women too. If it's real hot outside or if it's real cold, you need something to protect you from the weather. So those are all important things to consider. And the question I want to ask now is, in your pack, what do you hope to accomplish?
Food,
Is it to get home? Yeah, that should be your main accomplishment. What if you have those of you who had children in here, what if you have your children with you?
Yeah.
You know, and you're even 20 miles from home. Have you made provisions for them? Have you taught them? Or are you just going to leave them and go home and see if you could get back to get them? Probably not. Most of us wouldn't leave our children. You know, so all things have to be considered. All right, let's look at, could have wrote this on a board, but everyone have a pen and paper? Let's have you write down some stuff in a minute. I want to look at several areas when you're putting together a pack. You know, I could show you, we'll just walk over here a minute, and this is something I carry in my car all the time.
Ammo box.
Yeah, ammo box, but it's full of goodies. It's got water filter, it's got a knife, it's got a saw, it's got some trash bags. You know, it's got some different things here that I can utilize, you know, and put into a pack. So the first thing we need to look at is containers. You know, all have containers. Got a good one here. They're all solid made if you look at them. If you get some cheap pack from Walmart that's, let's say $15 or $20, it might not last you that long. You know, it's like Brooks and I were talking, you want to look at stitching on them and everything else. You don't have to spend a fortune on it, but you want something that's solid made. What's this one run, Brooks?
60.
All right, $60 for this pack. This one I think at one time was probably $60 or $70. It's an REI pack. This one, it's about a $700 pack. Very expensive, but almost indestructible. So, but carries a lot of stuff. Can you carry that big of a pack? You know, maybe not. You know, you need to do what's right for you. Let's just look at some of the things that we've got in here, different packs. I'm just going to look at this one really quick. See, I got a water bottle here. I put this on the outside. I wouldn't normally do that. You can see that about 20 miles away. But it's something if you were, let's say you were out in a hotel somewhere, second story house, something like that, and there was a fire and you couldn't get out. Well, this is strong enough. This is 1,200 pound test. On this, you could lower yourself out of a window with it. You can do all kinds of different things with it. You know, not totally necessary, but I like being prepared. You never know what you're going to come across. Okay, water bottle, canteen. Let's look at some different things. This is something that I wanted to bring your attention to, and I'm not even sure you can get it now. It's resublimated iodine. I think there's only one company maybe in the U.S. that produces it where you can get it. It's Polar, P-O-L-A-R. And this stuff here will clean up about, I think it's 2,500 quarts of water. And all you have to do with any kind of water, as long as it's not got sediment and everything, pour it in this bottle, let it set for half an hour, pour it off in a quart of water, let that set for another half an hour to an hour depending on the temperature, and then you have purified water every time. So if you're not good at starting fires and boiling your water, but you need to boil it if you're going to drink it, you know, this is good stuff to have. Something easy, and it does quart after quart after quart, and the sublimated iodine, it just absorbs so much water, cleans it, and then you've got it all back in there. And it'll last for that many times. Yes?
You have a process we can write down to how you do that? How many drops per quart?
This is 8 ounces of resublimated. It's actually, you can hear it, and I'll show it to you after the class. But it's this stuff is it's purple in nature. They actually mine it from gas wells and oil wells and things like that. It's deep earth iodine, and but it will cleanse that water. But you're just pouring it into these crystals. It's just, all this is I think it's 8 grams. There's hardly anything in there, but it's enough to purify water. That
It's
20.
crystals, right?
Yeah, it's just crystals. Actually, you can pass that around if somebody would like to, just so they can see it. But that's if you can't start a fire or anything, at least it's a surefire way to.
Would it be better if we could hold the questions till you're done and then have the question time?
It probably would, however you'd like to do it.
Okay.
It doesn't make any difference.
If you have
but-
questions, write them down, and then when we
Yeah.
have question time, you can go over them. So you can at least get through what he wants to demonstrate.
Okay, this, we got a Bible in there. I actually have a map of Kentucky in here, in case I need to get home from Kentucky and get back home. I've also got a survival guide, something that's got knots in it. It shows how to make fires. It's all kinds of different things that you can look at in this. So it's just something to look at. I always carry a spare pair of glasses when I'm out. You know, I need those. I need these to read, unfortunately, so I always keep those on hand because you never know when you're going to run into a problem. Let's see what I got in here. A light. That's an extra light. I actually carry one with me everywhere I go. You know, so that I always have a flashlight. If I get caught out, I mean, there's been times we've had flat tires out in the middle of a rainstorm in the dark, and if you don't have lights, how are you going to change the tire? You know, so that's important to have extra batteries. Compass. You know, if you don't have sunlight, if you don't have different things that you have to get back home, if you can't go on the roads, then you're going to need a compass to get through the woods. Anybody ever been lost in the woods? Oh, you're being honest. And most people, or maybe you haven't been in the woods, but anybody that's ever been in the woods has gotten turned around before. These are just, it's like a wool gaiter. You can put those on. You can use it all kinds of different ways. You can cover your head with it, cover arms, different things. It's just wool. So it's, I always carry a couple of them. Then I can if it's cold, I can put it on my neck, put it on my head, and then I've got myself covered for that point. I always carry hats. Got one like this. I've got all kinds of boonie hats. I think, did you bring some of those up here? All right, we'll show some of those after a little bit. Got a couple packs of food. You know, this is just a guy on one of the sites calls them GORP, good old raisins and peanuts. To me, I like almonds a little bit better than peanuts, but this will get you through. You don't need a lot of food for 2 or 3 days. You know, you can survive. Anybody in here ever fast? You can survive quite a few days without food. That's why water is so important, but those things are in here. Look at this. The towel for bathing, drying off. Also normally carry a tarp with me. That way I can make a tent out of it if I need to. In this bag I actually have the military poncho, and I can do a lot more with it. Plus it doubles for a raincoat. Charcoal. Actually I had this in a glass bottle right now, so that's why the tape is on it, but try to take that. I don't need much of that because if I start a fire, I can make my own charcoal at some point. If I was out for an extended period of time, but charcoal's a good thing to have for anything, even for water. When we were in Africa, we used to put charcoal in the water and every day when we drank it because we didn't know, it was suspect. You know, so Lord preserved us, I think, just through that act of faith there. That's a knife. I carry many different types of knives. I carry one on me all the time. It's just a little short blade knife, something that works good. These Moore knives are really good, sharp. You know, you need a knife. What for?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything, that's right, everything. You know, a knife's a good thing to have. Trash bags. These are the big 55-gallon trash bags. What can you do with those?
Poncho.
Make ponchos out of them. You can stuff them full of leaves for insulation, you know, shelter, you know.
A dry area to work.
Yeah, keep a dry area down. Number of things. I always carry 3 of these with me, you know, just in case I need them. Let's see here. Pair of gloves. Like I said, this is just my 20-pound pack. You know, you carry a lot more if you think you're going to be going a lot more. We take these, we like to go camp, so it's you know, I'll carry a little bit more just to make things better. Extra pair of socks. I told you I like the wool socks. If you've walked for 3 or 4 miles, you need to change your socks. Get some dry ones on, or you'll get blisters. I was just telling Brother Brooks and some of them about the blisters that I gotten camping out before, and one of them actually over time ended up going sepsis on me, you know, because, you know, it's just a bad thing. You know, these are big blisters, and a lot of times when we pop them and stuff, if we don't know what we're doing, we can cause a whole lot of problems. So it's good to have that extra pair of socks. Keep your feet dry. I mean, that's what you're going to walk home with is your feet. So good shoes are another thing. You got, let's see, I got them both underneath here. Yeah, if you could. 2 different pairs of shoes. These are the ones I like to hike in. I can walk for miles in these. Never hurt my feet. I've practiced with them. You know, Brooks has a pair. He got some Army ones. Rocky shoes. Both of them have Vibram soles on them. You know, they're both tough boots, so it's important to have a good pair of shoes. If you just got just some cheap, phony shoes, they're not going to last very long. You know, so it's good. If you shop around, you can find them. You can get sales and all kinds of other stuff. You don't have to spend all the money.
What's the name brand on the other boots?
These I actually got from a Sierra trading post out in, they're an Italian boot, Lidos. I just look for whatever's on sale, and if it fits good, that's what I get. But they, like I said, they've got the Vibram sole. You know, they're a tough boot. Let's see, a little first aid kit. Got some salve in here. Got some pine sap in here. I've got a wrap. These wraps are great. You know, they're just those elastic wraps. They bind on themselves. Well worth it. You can get those at Tractor Supply, or you can get them in bulk online. But you can't have enough of this stuff. I mean, because it wraps up. It's like an ace bandage. You know, so you don't have to have the clips or anything. Pardon? It's just a, all they call it is bandaging tape. It's 3M, it's vet wrap, VET-WRAP.
The human brand of that is called Coban.
Is it?
Coban.
They'd probably charge you twice as much.
Probably.
Yeah, for that stuff. But yeah, what was the name again?
Coban.
Coban. Okay, Coban for the hospitals. This is just something to plug dressings. I mean, what if you come across somebody with a, not plug dressings, but plug wounds with? If you found somebody in a car wreck, something like that, You can open this up, slap this on there, it's sterile, and stop the bleeding.
What do you call that?
This is just an emergency bandage. It's just thick. You open it up, it's a big piece of, yeah,
One of the
yeah.
things that works well for that is sanitary pads.
Yeah, that's why I was telling her abdominal.
Just
Yeah.
get sanitary pads, much cheaper.
Some bug repellent. We don't have bugs around here, do we? Okay, there's a little pair of scissors in there. Again, I've got the Neosporin. I've got all kinds of bandages inside here of different sorts. You know, this is very individual, so pick the things that you're familiar with. You know, don't have a suture kit if you don't know how to suture. You know, that's, you know, or get one and learn how, but, you know, it's important to know how to use your stuff. This is just a packable down vest. You know, it goes down real small, 32 degrees. You know, it does get a cool night out there. Raincoat. I've got here's another boonie hat. Keep with that. And this bag I chose to put a large wool blanket in. Something I want to experiment more. We've taken them out camping, but this one it's a big one. You know, so it's, that thing will, you can make a poncho out of it if you wanted to. If you didn't have a coat, if you got in bad conditions, just put a slit in it, slide it over and wrap it, and you've got something that's going to keep you warm. This one would probably be like a trench coat. It'd go clear down the ground. It's a big one. Let's see what we got in here. I try to keep everything as organized as I can with different little packs, as long as they don't get too heavy. But so you can find stuff quick. You know, if you can't find it, then good. It's a knife sharpener. So just a little steel. It goes inside itself. That's something you can just hit your knife with real quick. A multi-tool, everyone knows what those are, right? It's just a Leatherman.
Small one. A nice small
Oh,
one.
yeah, the big ones, everything gets bulky after a while,
And
so,
it weighs more.
yeah. Some duct tape,
Oh, yeah.
Gorilla tape. If you want to be found, a whistle. If you don't want to be found,
Don't blow it.
don't blow it. Don't get rid of the whistle. Let's see. You got a big silky saw.
Man,
Yeah, that thing will cut down the side of a tree. I'm real impressed with these saws. I mean, they're just,
man.
I wouldn't get anything else because you can, yeah, it's big, huh? Good pruning saw too, Brad. Pardon? Silky. Silky.
What's it
Brother
cost?
Brooks has them.
These, what are these, retail on these saws? I think they're around
55.
55, yeah, right around in there. But very handy. Brooks got some small ones back there that are just as handy, but if I had to be out for several days, I'd rather have this in my pack because I can make a shelter. I don't have to worry about putting that tarp up then. I mean, I can throw a shelter up and, you know, half the time with this thing. So it's just a good deal to have. Also, in place of in this pack, I don't have a hatchet, but I've just got a big knife. You know, so you can chop with that and do some things. Remember, I've got the small knife so I can do finer jobs, and this would be for chopping. I can baton with it, split wood. And this is just a fire starting kit. I've got a lighter in here. I've got a steel. These are actually very handy to have in your lighting kit. Just a piece of leather, you can put out on the ground, and you can start your fires with your tinder on this, keep it dry. So it's a very simple thing. You can go to any leather shop and get a piece, just a little square, and put that in there. Pretty handy.
You don't let it burn, you dump the fire.
That's right, you dump it into the rest of it. You just to get it going. Just some different fire starters that you can get at Walmart, any place. So it's nice to have those things. I mean, we can go primitive and go out there and try to do some stuff, but it's if you don't have to right away, save that for later. It's nice to have something. I mean, if you're desperate, you want to fire pretty quick. So unless you're excellent at building fires, then you don't have to do that. But anyway, you can see what's in the small bag. I've got quite a mess going up here, but I'll just try to pick out some of the things that I would add to. Thank you. In the bigger pack, I'd have one of these hatchets.
Yes.
That makes work a lot faster than the knife chopping. So it's you know, this is just a fizz cars. I mean, you can, very affordable. I mean, you can pay, I don't know if any of you have ever looked at hatchets online and stuff for the Grand Fours and stuff like that. I mean,
Over
you're
$100.
yeah, you can go a couple $100s on them real easy. This one's very affordable. What did you say?
25.
25, you know, so.
Tell them about your power cord you put on it.
Yeah, I just wrapped my paracord around the handle so I can use that. I don't know if you can see that, but you know, for stringing up the tarp, you know, tube tents, things of that nature. You know, I got 25 feet on here. I can do just about whatever I want because I have some expenditure into this rope. I don't want to be cutting it up, but you can use this paracord all day long for doing that. And anybody ever wrapped it, made bracelets, done things like that? You can do all kinds of stuff online and learn how to wrap these around tools, and then you have them. They're ready to go. Again, that's just another silky. Good knife. That's one like a lifetime knife, so you always want to have the best knife that you can afford.
That's the one that the Navy SEALs use.
Yeah, real hard steel. I mean, you can baton with this. You can do anything. It holds a good edge. You know, if you're going to spend some money, you know, don't get a cheap knife because a lot of times they won't do for you what you want them to do. I will tell you that in this car kit, just a little Gerber, that's what I keep in there. So it's, like I said, you want to have multiples of everything to be able to use them. For the water purification, everybody familiar with these? The life straws. And then I've also got in the kit here, I've got a Sawyer. I think everyone's familiar with the Sawyers. If you're not, we'll get into it here in a second. See, I better see how much time I got because we can go all day. Let me,
40 minutes on the card.
how much?
40 minutes on the card.
Okay. Well, we surely won't go that far. Pull this off. Okay, this is for, I guess my forever pack, if I was going out backpacking, but a pair of good gloves. This is just a scarf. If you're caught out in the winter or whatever, one to hide, whatever. Hopefully you don't have to hide, but you know, it gives you several different options. What if you had to go through let's say there was some kind of environmental disaster, a lot of dust and stuff, and you needed to cover your face. You know, these are good to have. Sunglasses, goggles are good to have. Everyone's familiar with this, it's just a military poncho.
You can use those for a tent even.
Yeah, you can make a shelter out of it. It's good for a lot of different things. You can make a shelter, I forget how many different ways with it.
7.
7? Okay, just another neck gaiter. I try to duplicate in each bag, towel. This is just a hygiene kit, some more bug spray, no DEET in that, eucalyptus. This is just iodine, just a nascent iodine for taking liquid. You know, what if you were in, like my mom lives down by a nuke plant down in Arkansas. You know, if you had fallout or whatever, you'd want to start, hopefully you're taking iodine already, but you'd want to start taking that just to take care of yourself. Just some wipes, toothbrush, just some simple things. More trash bags, keep those in each pack. I've even got them inside this thing here. So lots of trash bags. A lot of redundancy if you can. Let's see. We're starting to get see if there's anything new in here. Like I said, I don't want to duplicate on anything. This one I have a sewing kit in case I need one. Yeah, if you would, I'd really appreciate it. This is just some fishing line and hooks. I realize that all of us, almost no one in here eats any fish, but you know, again, it's something to be prepared for. Okay, this is the Sawyer for the water purification. If you follow directions on this, this is good for 100,000 gallons.
Wow.
So that's quite a bit. For $19, $20,
They have a plastic water bottle too.
yeah, the water bottle goes with it. Go get those at Walmart. I mean, it's well worth it.
What's the name of it?
This is a Sawyer, let me see, water filter system is what it's called.
Is it like a charcoal filter?
It actually has a, what do I want to call it?
Ceramic.
Ceramic.
Yeah, it's ceramic, but it's a mesh too. And what it does is you're using it like the life straw, you're sucking it up through there. But with this one, you can actually back flush it and clean it out so that you have more uses out of it. Again, I have the iodine in there. Again, I won't show that again, but I keep that in each pack. People don't realize how deadly water can be if you don't have it cleaned. I mean, anybody ever got sick from water? I mean, it's a bad deal, huh? You know, when it starts getting, I mean, the bacteria you can get in there, I mean, there's bacteria in there that could kill you. No problem, giardia, you know, you can get amoebas in water, you know, any kind of filthy water condition. So it's important to get that done. I also have for this kit, I've got a little alcohol stove in here, which most of the backpackers on the AT trail, they'll put this inside it because they can get this at the local towns. Just heat, it's alcohol, and you can cook just about anything on this. It burns hot for probably about 4 or 5 minutes, I think, before it burns it out. But it'll boil water pretty quickly. Just some cayenne pepper here, some salt, just different things, cooking kits. And this bag, because this one's for a longer term, this is my first aid kit. And it's got, I'll show you after the class if you're interested in it, but it's got all kinds of stuff in it. So it, you're a little bit more capable to help other people than as well as yourself. Okay. I think this is just a clothing bag. Oh, wrong, sleeping system. This is a Soul Escape Bivy. I won't pull the whole thing out, but you'll get the idea. It's got this kind of material inside of it, reflective material. It's a little bit sturdier than your average foil blanket, but it'll hold heat in an emergency. This is just a real light sleeping bag. It's good for probably what, 50 degrees, 55. You know, so for this time of year, normally if it was winter time, I'd be packing my down bag in there instead. So it's just keeps things going. Okay. I think that's about it on this. Have a canteen on this one. Water, you can see the cup fits inside of it. You can cook in the cup. You know, so you got the alcohol stove, so it will take care of things. Again, charcoal, don't go anywhere without it. I mean, it's good for everything. I mean, I see a lot of charcoal back on Dana's table back there. You should have one of these in every pack, in your car. I mean, it's just handy. I mean, you start getting any kind of stomach problems or anything, if you've eaten something bad, it'll save your life. Good
Our little
stuff.
puppy has stomach problems, and I put a piece of charred wood in her pen,
Mm-hmm.
and every once in a while she runs in there and eats on that piece of charred wood.
Wow. Let's see. Okay, this is the fire starting kit again. How many of you have ever put a pencil sharpener in your kit? You can get a little piece of wood and make all kinds of shavings with that thing to start your fire. That's less than $1.
That's a good idea.
You know, so it's just something that's very simple. Waterproof matches. Again, a whistle, but it has a compass on it. Second place, you can put matches inside of there. Striker. Here's something new for you. Anybody ever tried big birthday candles? And they're the ones that relight after they get blown out. So in bad weather, they're going to keep relighting. You know, so a better way to get your fire. Another dollar item. And just some other tinder. Another steel, another flashlight. So that's just, I think I'm going to stop right there for now, but it's, let's see if I've got anything else in here that's, another one, another book to have. How to Stay Alive in the Woods.
We got that.
Yeah, this is one of the best ones. I've had this one for 30 years. I bought this when I got married to Nora, and we were going to go out and go hunting out in Oregon. And this is how I've outfitted myself for years, is just from the advice that's in that book. I mean, it's very simple, and I guess it's when men were men. I mean, they went out in the woods and they could handle things. So. Let's see what else we have in here. This is for maps. Again, Tennessee map, big South Fork map, extra pair of glasses, Bible. You know, I try to keep those in every one of her. No food. I actually had food, but I didn't put it in there that time. Again, more tape. Let's see if there's anything else in here in the goodie bag.
Glad you're gonna put all that back in.
Yeah, it's gonna take forever. Yeah. Let's see what else we got in here. Okay, another thing that I don't have in there that I would normally put in is a monocular or a pair of binoculars, small one, just so that you can see what's going on from a distance, you know, see if things are safe, you know, actually pick out a landmark somewhere, you know, those are all important things. I think that's about it for right now. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, okay? I know it's a lot of stuff out of 2 bags and a lot of redundancy, but if you have any questions, I just want to encourage you to at least do some kind of small pack or something for when you're going to go in the city, and to think about the clothing that you wear every day. You know, good shoes, good pants, good dresses, good shirts, you know, good coats, things of that nature. Things that are going to take care of you if you're out in the elements or in a bad place.
How about a collapsible shovel? I didn't see one. What are your thoughts on that? Is that not necessary?
A shovel's okay. A lot of times, I mean,
Digging stick.
yeah, you can use digging sticks. You could use, you know, you could use a knife. I know it's going to dull it, you know, but if you're going if you're not going into rock and stuff, you could use that. But you could fashion different things to dig with. Even a rock, a flat rock, you can dig with. Some guys will carry the little trowels, you know, for like doing your business out in the woods and things of that nature. So that probably suffices more. You know, when you start getting into the shovels, you start getting into weight. You know, and we've got enough weight here. I mean, I would suggest for most of you, keep your pack at 25 pounds. If you are comfortable with that. If you can do more, there's a few people in here I see that may be able to do more, but you know, if you've got to walk a long way, you know, there's no doubt. I mean, if you look at guys that walk the AT trail, normally they're 20 pounds or less, you know, and try to pick up their stuff when they go down into a town, you know, so it's yes.
And we were curious, I have 2 questions. What is batoning? When you're talking about
Okay.
your knife, what does that mean?
Let me see if I can find that thing again. Yeah, there it is. Let's say if you cut a piece of wood that was about like this, and you wanted to burn faster, you would take your knife, you would take a piece of wood, don't use metal on this, you'll damage it. Take a piece of wood and then smack it down and it acts like a wedge going between the wood, so it's a splitter.
So miniature splitter.
Yeah.
And then for your raisins and peanuts, you say you like to use almonds. Do you like kind of like grind it and make like a pasty type thing and then just preserve that and it stays good for a long time, or do you?
Normally I leave them whole. And if it's, I know some people have trouble eating nuts, different things like that. If you'll just soak them, get some water and soak them in if you want them softer, that'll soften them up and make it easier and break them down a little bit. But normally we leave everything whole because it'll last longer. Any other questions?
Want me to do mine?
Yeah, please.
Give me a mic. 20. On the shovel that he was mentioning, don't get a China-made shovel. Don't get a China-made shovel. Try to get one that's military. They're made by Ames, A-M-E-S, and they are very,
Here, go ahead.
they're very good. But there is weight involved.
Okay. There we go. Yeah.
Also with the shoes, I was having problem with the front part of the shoe just peeling out. That's where it tends to go. It wants to peel out. Try to get shoes where after the sole is put on, they sew it. Now these, I got at a shoe store in Glasgow that handle overruns and stuff like that. This one had a tear, which you can see here, that's been repaired. These are military, made in the USA, special ops shoes. They have Vibram soles, and they're sewn all the way around. In other words, that sole is actually stitched into the shoe. And that's what you want to try to find if you can. Now some of them, they're just stitched across the nose. That's good, because I had a shoe man at a shoe repair shop says that's the first thing to go is when they start peeling back. But very comfortable, and they support your ankle real well. Also, there's all kinds of well, let me do this first. At one of the shows, there was a couple that came by. They had this sort of as a home project. This is, I don't know how many feet is paracords in this thing. This is military grade, USA, 7-strand, 550-pound paracord. This is a rifle sling. So this is a rifle sling. It doesn't have to be used for that, but I thought that was kind of neat, and I wanted to help them out anyway, because it was a good little home project. Also with your hats, what happens when society breaks down, either from a natural disaster or a terrorist attack or something? The criminal element breaks loose.
Yes.
And you've got to be very, very careful. If there are trails, stay off of them. Stay in the woods, and that's why you need a good compass. But there is a website, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, I think it's 0031. He's ex-military, and he goes through all the different kinds of camouflage. And he actually goes into the woods with each stage of the camouflage, and as the camera starts, he's in there. You try to find him. And it's very interesting. Different seasons of the year, and you try to find him. He'll wait maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and then all of a sudden you'll see movement. You know, you can test yourself how well you can actually see. And one thing I noticed he did with his boonie hat is, because of your face being lighter colored, some of us have lighter colored faces, some of them don't, but you want to hide that color. He'll put his boonie hat on and he goes like this. So this is what you're looking at. Now this hat we got at a thrift store. It's a nice one, it's very comfortable, but it had a golf thing on the front, and I wanted to get it out. And he shows you how to use camouflage paint. You can get it at Walmart where they have spray cans. They have green, brown, and coyote tan. My boots are coyote tan. That's what that looks like. And you can actually use that on gear. And you can just, what you want to do is you want to break it up. Just like when you look out, you don't see one solid to green thing. You want to break it up. But you can have tan. This is coyote tan.
This is also something you can use to break your outline up, put some charcoal on your
Yeah.
face.
Right.
And it really works well.
This was another one that we got at a thrift. This one I got at Walmart. And it's reversible.
Oh, yes.
Got blaze orange on one side and camouflage on the other. It's very comfortable. This is sort of a grayish one, but there's all kinds of camo. Now this is your standard World War II, Korea, Vietnam. It's called woodland camo. Woodland camo. And when he did woodland camo, after he was through, he said, dollar for dollar, you'll get better coverage with woodland camo than you can with some of the new stuff that they have. It's usually pretty available in the Army Navy surplus stores. You can get pants, you can get shirts, you can get jackets, you can get liners, you can get the boonie hat. This is another kind of camo that they have. In the desert one. This is a new style, a digital style, and just a plain color. You want to stay away. I saw a video production done with a man to show how bad wearing blue is if you're trying to hide. No matter where he went or how far he went, you could pick him out. So you want, what I'm doing, and Lucy's doing too, we're trying to work our way out of blue into earth colors. Yeah, just slowly work your way out into your earth colors. Here's a solid green one. That was Ronnie. Got me that one. Here's a camo jacket. And these are readily available. They're well made. They're ripstop. So if they do get a snag from a thorn or something, they won't continue to rip. Also, the ponchos are ripstop also. It's very good. You want to get the best you possibly can, as if your life depended on it, because it probably will be. Remember there's a saying that says, the more you bleed in training, the less you bleed in battle. So you want to train. You want to train. You want to train. You want to get used to carrying things. When I got to thinking about all this, I've always been weak in my upper body.
Yes.
So I started doing calisthenics. Get your shoulders built up, get your arms built up, get your back built up, so you can carry a pack, so you can go the distance, because it might not just be you that's depending on you.
Yeah,
It might be somebody else.
Your family's dependent on it.
Right.
That's for sure.
But this Good Samaritan, that wasn't his family.
No.
And probably he didn't expect to see that man there, but he was geared up.
Yeah.
He was ready to help. And as medical missionaries, that's what we need to be. And please remember what I brought out last night. It isn't a mixture. What is it?
Compound.
It's a compound. What we're dealing with all has to do with closure for Jesus.
Amen.
Because it helps to relieve the suffering that he's going through. And as the scripture says, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And this is my pack here. I'm not going to go ahead and take things out of it because I'm afraid I couldn't get it all back in. My pack weighs about 20, I think I weighed it out at 22 pounds. And It is made in China, but I did some research on the internet on the brand, and it's got almost a 5-star rating, and it is, it's a good pack. It's got padded shoulder, it's got the waist, it's got the breast going across here, it's balanced. It's got plenty of molly webbing that you can attach things to. So,
Yeah, and just something I wanted to point out too is that you don't have to have all this stuff, but until you start practicing with some things, you know, to where you know what to do when you're out there. It's just like with starting a fire. I mean, there's people that can go out with nothing but a knife into the wilderness and live for weeks.
Yes.
You know, but it's somebody that's trained for years to do that. So don't neglect your training on this stuff. It's part of practical life. It's just like living in a homestead. How many of you just have wood for heat? Well, you better know how to start a fire, right? That's a problem if you don't know how to start a fire. You know, keep training, keep working with cleaning water and doing things of that nature. You know, that's all important. Yes, brother.
I wanted to know if those boots are can you buy them brand new?
yes,
The question was, could you buy the
boots
brand new?
The ones that did not have this pair that had the sew on it was a whole lot cheaper. It was $20. And that's USA made, special ops, military, Vibram sole. I couldn't believe the price. And it was repaired already. The other ones that don't have a tear on them, I think they were 45 or 50. Now, if you go and buy them outright in a full grade store, they're probably going to be up probably close to 100. Yeah.
What do you mean by vibrant sole?
Vibrant.
Vibram.
Yeah, it's a type.
It's a brand name of a sole, the bottom of the shoe. They wear better.
It's
Longer.
And when it gets cold, they're not
Yeah.
slick like rubber would freeze and get hard.
yeah, it's
These stay.
VIBRAM.
Yeah. Yeah.
VIBRAM.
V is in Victor.
Yes.
She was mispronouncing. She was mispronouncing.
Oh, got a question.
You could hear that.
What do you think about LL Bean's duck boots? Are you familiar with those?
Talking about the
That's
rubber.
like the rubber,
LL
rubber on
Bean
the top.
duck boots. They're pricey, but they seem to be very durable too.
Yeah, they're good. Usually anything LL Bean has is
Yeah, that's actually the kind of food he talks about in this book.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to relate a story if there isn't any questions. To show you how important knowledge is at different times. There was, I mentioned this last night to some brethren here, but there were 3 men going across a large body of water, probably up close to Canada, one of the lakes. They were going hunting or fishing. And with a guide that grew up in the area. He was just a plain, common man, just a guide, grew up in the area. But these men were very learned people from high up in what we would call higher education. But they're going to find out it was really lower education. And just to get conversation going, one of the men asked the man, and he was an English professor, asked him, how much Shakespeare have you read? the man never even heard of Shakespeare. He says, I know how to read, but I never even heard of the man. Oh, the guy said, he says, you missed half your life. And this other fellow was into math. He was a math man, and he said, you know, how much do you know about physics and calculus and this? Oh, well, he says, I know how to add and subtract and multiply. Oh, the man says, you missed half your life. And the other fellow was, I forget what he was, into something, and it was the same thing. Oh, you missed half your life. And they went on a little bit further, and the boat started going like this, and a storm front came in. They could see the rain coming their way. He turned around, looked at the fellows, and said, tell me, how many of y'all know how to swim? And they just looked at each other right there. He said, I'm sorry, you may have missed all your life. See, there are certain things, right now, people are going after things that they think is important, to the neglect of the things that are really important. And we can't base what we're doing on what we see right now. We have to base what we're doing on what God says is coming.
Amen.
And not take the promises, the wonderful promises that God has for us in the large time of trouble, and apply it to the little time of trouble.
Right.
And that's why most of our people are not doing anything, because they think the angels are going to take care of them, their bread and water is going to be sure. After the close of probation, that's true.
That's right.
But not before. And really, the little time of trouble is going to be the big time of trouble for Advent. Are there any questions? Let's zero in on what the Lord has said is coming and what we need to do to prepare. Remember, it's not just for ourselves. It's going to be people that need help. You know, just like the Good Samaritan story. We need to be prepared. Shall we kneel together?